Hi, I'm Keegan, and this is A Bunch of Gamers. This is our 164th episode of Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th Anniversary Edition, Dimitri's Story. I'm going to go around and have my players introduce themselves.
I'm Tyler, and I play Kyle, also known as Guards the Low. He's a Philodox of the Children of Gaia.
Hi, I'm Sam. I play Cora. She's an Aruna in the Geta Fenris.
Hi, I'm Adam. I play Mark Guides the Fallen, and he's a Thurge of the Children of Gaia.
Hi, I'm Sean. I play Zeb Speaks-in-Sweet-Whispers. He is a Theurge of the Silent Striders.
Hello, my name's Thomas. I play Dimitri Howls-In-Memory, Lupus Galliard of the Bone Gnawers.
Hi, my name is George. I am playing William Grows-Matrices. He is a Arun of the Glasswalkers.
Last time, Dimitri went to the Sept of the Hidden Glade to speak to the Fianna and the other faces of Stag at that cairn in an attempt to learn about Terrance Hardened-Judge, to compose an epic, to honor him, and to ease tensions between his pack and the Ill Omens. Dimitri then found out that some Fianna from Hidden Glade had joined the Sept of the Green after a raid that happened years ago. Dimitri waited until the local moot and now begins to approach the Fianna of the Green. And so the moot kind of goes, it's the cracking of the bone period, which allows Garu to kind of talk, and you do recognize one of the Fianna that was mentioned via description. She has hazelnut hair, emerald eyes, and is speaking and telling a couple stories about Stag and the what are referred to as the Fomori Wars. As Dimitri, you then start approaching the Fianna. As her name comes back to you, it is, of course, Alana, voice of the Lost Fog.
Dimitri is gonna listen to the stories that she tells for a little while, trying to learn a little bit more about the Fianna as a whole. And when she's done and he finds an opportunity to approach, he'll do so, and he'll say, "Excuse me, voice of the Lost Fog. Do you have a moment?"
She'll turn around and, yes, what can I do for you?
I am Dimitri Howls-In-Memory, and I am on a journey to prepare a song about Terrance Hardened-Judge. And I have several stories of his victories, but as you know, as a fellow Galliard, a story full of victories and praise, rings hollow without seeing the other side of failure and loss. And I was wondering if you could tell me a few more stories.
Well, I can tell you a few more stories, but it'll be very disappointing, as all I have are victory and honor for him. But if you would like to hear some stories, then I'm happy to share.
And Dimitri will sit down.
So, have you heard about the personality of Hardened-Judge?
Not from those that know him.
Well, one thing that you can call Hardened-Judge, among others, but one thing is an encourager. He does it from afar, and his form of encouragement is always going to be straightforward. He was a beacon of encouragement for me as a foster. Without him, I would not know where my history was from, where my story and songs were from. He encouraged me to dig deeply into my past, into my family's past, and to find where we came from. Hardened-Judge is incredibly perceptive. He saw that and knew, though, that I felt a connection to Stag, it was not as strong as it could have been. He encouraged me to dig deeply into my own history and the history of our tribe. When I was foster, and I traveled abroad. I heard many songs and learned many stories. Along the way, I discovered more about myself and my history, and I learned the stories and found that my own history was more from France and Germany than from the Isles. My spirit connected more closely to Stag through the Hounds of the Horned One than through the Fianna, the people who I was raised with and who I was raised to be. When I returned to the States, I knew better who I was and who I wanted to be. I knew how I wanted to serve Gaia and how to serve Stag. Without his guidance and encouragement, I would be Fianna and still a Galliard, but I would not be the whole Garu I am today. That is just one portion of who he is, and I'm sure you've heard of his resolve in matters.
I have heard of his resolve and determination.
He has one of the greatest spirits of determination that I have seen, especially when he is trying to aid the Sept of the Hidden Glade. One story I would like to tell you about Hardened-Judge is about his time at the Sept of the Bloody Antler. And this is a story that I heard from Elantia Shimmering Howl. So, Hardened-Judge entered the Sept of the Bloody Antler. There, he stood before a spirit who had been worshipped since the time of the Roman Empire. Hardened-Judge was at this Sept, standing before this ancient spirit because he needed information that would aid his own home Sept. As he stood before the spirit, Hardened-Judge was struck through with iron rods. He stood with those rods embedded in his body for 3 days, all while reciting 3 different stories. He recited the song following the Triad falling out of balance. He recited the story that told of the Fomori War. And he recited the epic that tells of the First Wormhowler War. He was no Galliard, however, through this act, he was granted knowledge to find the Nightclaw Cairns in Iberia, so that he could find rites to aid in the Hidden Glade's secret. He sacrifices, he is determined, he is encouraging. It might not be in the way many expect, but those are very much parts of him. So I'm sorry to disappoint you with such accolade for Terrance.
Oh no, it is no disappointment at all.
But these are the truths about him.
I thank you for sharing these truths with me, and I wish I had something equal to give in return.
I'm sure that when the time comes, the favor will be repaid.
I hope that it will be so. But thank you for your time, Voice in the Fog.
Voice of the Lost Fog, but
Voice
you're
of...
very welcome. Have you spoken to anyone else here about?
I was about to ask you who else was here that knows Hardened-Judge. I heard a story of, in one of the stories of the great sacrifices that he has. I know that he sent Fianna here to help guard, or to help protect the Sept of the Great. I was wondering if you knew anyone else who would be willing to speak to me.
Sure. So I would suggest speaking to Daniel Redfangs. He is the other Fianna that I think would have stories.
Well, and no need to go that far. I'm right here.
As you see the Elder Bonar and former liaison to the rabble Rummage appear, as he places his arm around you and slowly pulls you away from Alana to talk to you.
Dimitri will wave goodbye to Alana as he's dragged away.
She'll just raise her hand and eyebrows at the same time, like, good luck.
I overheard your conversation with Alana. Have you heard about his personality? He's a dick. He's holier than thou, especially since he made Elder. Well, he wasn't great either. Before either, I suppose.
What was he like before? I keep hearing praise about his sacrifices and other stories, but I am kind of looking to hear about the other side of him.
Look, I'm not the right one to tell you the other side. I can tell you both. The mixed. And I can tell you about the defense of the green. When the Fianna of Hidden Glade came to defend the green, he insisted the Krynosborn be out on the front lines. He said they can't breed, are spiritually weak, and can only serve Gaia by dying for her. Obviously, Agatha fought against that, but the politics of the Sept back then meant that she had to budge. A lot of Garu were worried that they wouldn't come to our aid in the future if we didn't give in. He outranked me, but I challenged him and lost. So he leveraged my connections with the rabble to get them where we needed them. I had to pretend like this was some great thing and lie through my fucking teeth about it to them. That they would be heroes. How this might change things for them. The rabble left this fucking nation because of the prejudice towards them, and we put them through it all again. I don't know. I don't know what I could have done differently. Something that wouldn't have led 6 of them to their deaths, I suppose. Would have felt nice. But if he didn't show up to defend the green, many more would have died. But if instead of the circumstances of our birth, we had chosen tactically, perhaps we wouldn't have lost 6 of the Krynosborn.
I appreciate the honest words, Elder, and I appreciate that you gave me the mixed opinion, as it were. I think it definitely broadened my perspective on who he is.
Yeah, sorry, man. It gets me a little heated, I guess. Just, he's a hero and all that, but he's also not.
I understand.
And in my opinion, a story doesn't honor someone if you cut out who they actually are to tell it. It just honors the idea of them. Who knows? Maybe he'll like that, but I'm certain others won't. If you want to get the negative opinion, speak to Grunge. He's a Krynosborn of the Bonars. See what he has to say. He's one of the ones who survived.
Dimitri will give a nod. I'm sorry that you lost so many in the defense of the green. You did what you could at the time, and I know you know that. I just want to say that I'm on your side.
I appreciate that, but I still wish I had been on their side.
Again, I thank you for your time. I'll speak to Grunge. Do you know where I could find him?
He points out towards the other end of the Sept grounds. It's late, and so there aren't any real people here during the moot in the physical realm. Most of the Garu here are in their Hamid forms, and Grunge seems pretty obvious. He's got his leather jacket, kind of cheap flannel, and combat boots, though all of it dirtied up by living on the streets. He's got no real hair, or his hair is sparsely patched, and his skin is almost like a giant callus all over, thick and knotted in every which direction.
Alright, Dimitri will start heading towards him. And as he approaches, Dimitri is going to be like, "Hey, Grunge?"
Yes, who's asking?
Dimitri, Howls-In-Memory. I wanted to ask you a few questions about the defense of the green. I am writing a song about Terrance Hardened-Judge, and I'm sure you know the name.
Through gritted teeth, yes, I know the name.
I want both sides of the story. I've been talking to the Fianna, but they seem to do nothing but brown nose him most of the time. I was speaking to Rummage, and he told me that he could tell me more about what really happened. The real story, not just the empty praise.
You want the real story? The one where Hardened-Judge sent Krynosborn Cleoth to their death? Because there's nothing else to say besides Krynosborn, or the way he calls us mules to our face. There was nothing tactical about the defense of the green. He sent us to our deaths.
Yeah, that's the story I want to hear.
It was me and a few others. During the defense, a few lost their lives. I was able to get out with what they call as a battle scar that I now have to live with, because they deemed my spinal cord injury not a great enough injury to be healed, and that others needed more healing. They spared my life, but I don't think it was an act of kindness. They did it so that way they had someone to prop up, to say, see, look at what this mule did, this Krynosborn did for Gaia, because that's all we can do in their eyes, in his eyes.
By they, are you saying that Fianna Thurges refused to heal you?
The Fianna, yes, but Hardened-Judge made the call. He made it sound like it was a high-risk, high-reward situation, and it came out with the defense of the green. But if the Krynosborn were actually treated as equals and not subhuman, sub-Garu, we might have actually had more lives spared.
Yeah, that's what Rummage was telling me too.
You wanted the full story. You wanted the unadulterated story. You have it. Hardened-Judge is scum because of what he put me and all of the others through. Because if he had his way, I wouldn't have survived the crib.
And Dimitri will give a slow nod as he says, "Thank you for telling me the real side of it. I promise I won't spare any detail of what you told me. I hope that brings some sort of justice to it, even if
I don't know what song you're writing, but you better be truthful and don't spare a detail. This world needs to know what Hardened-Judge is."
I'll tell them everything. I promise.
I'll hold you to it.
And if I break that promise, I give you permission to hunt me down. But no, I don't have anything else for you unless there's anything else you want to add.
I have nothing else to add. I will say that runs with many packs might have more information if you want to get more, or if you already have enough, by all means. But maybe the four-legged one knows something I don't.
Alright. Thank you for your time, Grunge.
Wish I could say it was a pleasure.
I wish I could say the same too, but I appreciate your time. Alright, Dimitri is gonna go see Runs with Many Packs.
See a fairly young-looking man looking about. They seem clearly kind of uncomfortable in their clothes or their skin, being forced to be in their Hamid form. But it's more of like the awkwardness of being a young Lupus, a feeling, Dimitri, that you can very much empathize with.
Dimitri will approach and he'll say, "Hi, I'm Dimitri. Grunge said that you could answer a few questions for me."
Oh, gladly. How can I help you? I'm Runs with Many Packs.
I'm Dimitri, Howls-In-Memory.
Howls-In-Memory? I've heard of you. What brings you here?
I'm on a journey. I'm gathering stories about Terrance Hardened-Judge, and I've heard a few stories about the defense of the Green, and I was wondering if you could tell me more about it.
Oh, well, I've had interactions with Hardened-Judge in the past, but the defense of the Green was before my time. Years before my time.
Alright, in that case, maybe you could tell me some things you've heard about Hardened-Judge then.
Well, as my namesake says, I run with many packs. I'm not Fianna, I'm Children of Gaia. And so, my mission is to travel among with different packs temporarily to help bring the spirit of unification that is taught at the Green. I've heard stories, and I've seen what Hardened-Judge does. Many of those stories are true. He is a great howler of the litany and the laws. He does have a tendency, though, from what I see, to rely on his Hamid instincts. He puts his wolf heart aside. But when he does use his wolf heart, he knows many tales. He knows all the laws and all their intricacies. He's a very powerful teacher because of this. But, and he'll look over, kind of at Grunge. I'm sure you've heard how he treats the war board.
I have heard.
And kind of like shaking his head a little bit. I mean no disrespect, Rhea, and neither to Hardened-Judge Rhea. But it makes my heart snarl thinking how he treats his brothers and sisters. The way he treats them just as mere tools. This is a thing of the Weaver, not of Gaia. This weakens our packs.
No disrespect taken. I'm hoping to write a a song that doesn't just praise Hardened-Judge, but it tells of how he is as a Garu.
If you don't mind me asking, why are you writing this story? Why will you howl this story?
It's some time ago, my pack and some of our friends visited the Sept of the Hidden Glade, and one of my pack mates insulted Terrance Hardened-Judge and the rest of his Sept. But rather than give us a song of only praise, I want to compose something that tells both sides of his story.
And does Rhea feel this would truly bring unity? Yes, talking about both sides is truthful. However, maybe some things are best left unsaid? I am not a Galliard.
I suppose the way that I was approaching this was that if it was only praise, then if this song is meant to be an apology, then it would feel empty.
That is true.
Honor requires us to be truthful, and as a Philodox, I believe Hardened-Judge would understand this.
And a reminding lesson for myself. I appreciate that. But maybe some advice for Rhea?
I would be happy to take some.
He has earned his namesake for a reason. Hardened-Judge. And a judge is not a title so easily gained. Judges have to make hard decisions, difficult decisions. I don't know his full story, but perhaps the decisions he's had to make, decisions he's garnered much negative feelings from, were decisions he had to make to harden himself.
Maybe I could see that with some of the stories that I've heard. I recall one story where he found that some of his kinfolk were dealing with the worm, and he had to bring evidence against them so that they could be judged fairly. But when it comes to what Grunge told me about the defense of the green and what Rummage has told me as well, I feel that maybe it was more prejudice than him making hard decisions. At least from their side of the story, they felt that more could have been done to keep more Garu safe. And I know Grunge feels that he was specifically targeted because of the circumstances of his birth.
But if he treats the kinfolk with such care, why doesn't he treat the Warborn with care? Are they not Garu too? Are they not of Gaia too? I ponder upon this as I ponder the litany.
As I understand it, though I'm a Bonar, and I can't say that I am familiar with the Fianna and their culture, but speaking to quite a few Fianna the past few days, and in the past, it seems that they feel that the Krynosborn are of the worm, because the circumstances of their birth breaks one of the tenets of the litany.
It's been an honor speaking with you, Rhea, and it's been an honor to be approached by you. I know of some of your stories of you and your packs.
Well, while I'm here, runs with many packs before I leave back to Colorado, if you want to hear some stories, I'd be willing to share some with you.
Oh, most certainly. I would love to hear the stories of the packs that attract mages and slays Nexus crawlers.
Then perhaps another time then. But thank you for speaking with me, and you gave me a few things to think about.
As you too, I. Thank you, Rhea. And he'll give a little bit of bow, but then get a little awkward in his own skin, start scratching.
It's then that you do see, once again, another Garu that matches the description that you'd been given, with short-cut crimson hair, about a solid 5'5" and about just as wide as the shoulders, in a dirtied-up band t-shirt and jeans. You see Daniel Redfangs.
And Dimitri will approach Daniel and say, Hello, Daniel Redfangs. I am Dimitri Howls-In-Memory. I was wondering if you had...
You're Dimitri. Yeah, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Sounds like you've heard of me.
Close with Agatha. She's talked about you guys.
Oh yeah, Agatha, how is she?
She's declining, and I think the Winter Wolf comes for her soon. And I've taken up duties as Master of Rites here at the Cairn.
I'm sorry that she's declining.
Yeah. It's just a matter of time whether her health gives away or the wolf leaves her first.
Well, maybe you've heard of why I've come to the Sept of the Green. I've been gathering stories about Terrance Hardened-Judge, and I spoke to Rummage and I spoke to Grunge a bit, and I was wondering if you had the time to spare some stories.
Yeah, I can hand you some stories. Well, years ago, back in Boston, there was one moot. A Garu Cleoth was forced to live in Boston while a Fae harassed him for over a lunar month. And this Cleoth's life was miserable. This Fae Lord had it out for him. And so Hardened-Judge went out and apologized to the good folk for what he did to anger them. I think it's because he's part of the Tuatha De Fionn camp.
Could you tell me more about that camp? I can't say that I'm familiar.
They're the camp of what most people think when they think Fianna. Those who deal with the Fae, the good folk. They're the ones who have those connections and sometimes try and keep those alliances strong, believing that they'll help us in the end times. And, well, anyway, the point being, Hardened-Judge went, apologized to this Fae Lord, and worked out a deal in secret. And this poor little Clea had to serve the Fae Lord. Disappeared for ages, right? Came back shaken, wobbly. Hardened-Judge didn't say shit to him, but really, really built up that Aru, and he's Adrian now, and he's fucking tough as nails because of what Hardened-Judge did, and made sure that the alliances between the good folk of Boston and the Fianna of the Hidden Glade stayed strong.
Wow, that's quite a story. Do you know if that Arun's still around, or?
Yeah, that Arun's still around. I think they went over to Europe for their own kind of like pilgrimage. Hardened-Judge really, really pushes that for Fianna in his Sept. He knows that Fianna tends to be the catch-all term, but given the history there, and that we've had kin in Germany, and the Iberian Peninsula, and the Alps, with all the various Celtic factions, that part of us gets lost, and believing that we have to have a holistic view of not just our history, but Garu history as a whole. He has several Garu go over there at least once in their lifetime for a couple months, relieved of Sept duty, bouncing around these kinds of cairns to talk to the Hounds of the Horned One, to the Night Claws and the Sky Singers.
A voice in the Lost Fog was telling me about how they had discovered more of who she was in the Fianna by going over there. So
yeah, and a lot of us owe that. I am from Irish kin, so I am properly Fianna, but I know some who've taken up the name Sky Singer after they were considered Fianna for most of their lives. And it felt like a click moment. The nine tips of stag's antlers, so to speak, in our history.
And Dimitri will nod and say, I think I understand.
And he tries to be fair. One time when I was over at the Sept years ago, once again, I saw when he passed judgment over a kin, the kin had accidentally put the Cairn in danger, and several Fomori had gotten too close to comfort and even entered the bawn of Hidden Glade. There were several Fomoris and even human hunters. The kin, Joseph Bell, was brought before the Sept for trial, and several Garu called for his blood. Thou shalt not take action that threatens a Karen and all that. But Hardened-Judge stood resolute, as it was an accident, and it is a lesson that could be taught by two others from this kin, also believing that kin can't be held to the same standard as Garu, as they don't have the same senses and the same kind of magic as us, right? And anyway, the final judgment is that the kin was going to be beat by several of the Garu in their glabro forms. He was beaten to hell. He almost lost a couple teeth, 2 black eyes. I think they broke his nose and maybe an arm. And when all was said and done, Hardened-Judge walked over, cleaned his wounds, and then, without the use of Mother's Touch, because that would have violated the tenets of the punishment, sat by this kin's bedside, nursing him to health, bringing him food, bringing him painkillers, water, helping him do physical rehab, everything, because he believed it was the right thing to do. And he stood by his judgment, but he also stood by making sure that, the kin didn't end up fully resenting us. And he wanted the kin to understand what the punishment was and why.
That is... It fits pretty well with a lot of the stories that the other Fianna have told me about him. I had a question for you, though, about the defense of the green, about some of what Rummage and Grunge told me. I know Grunge especially felt targeted by Hardened-Judge because he's Krynos-born.
Yeah, he's pretty hard on the mules, and kind of overly so, I think, thanks to his connection to the litany. I don't think he did the wrong call here necessarily, but I do think he communicated it poorly. The thing is that the green were surrounded on all sides by city, right? And they could have come from any angle, and so he leveraged our strength and leveraged Cleoth, who unfortunately can't contribute to the Garu population unless there's more of your little rat bastard running around. And because of that, he leveraged that, knowing that hunters were ready for fresh blood, right? Take out the young ones, do a little psychological warfare, and he used that to the Sept's advantage. It was cruel as fuck how he put it, but and he tried to motivate them. He did songs from the litany about Krynos-born who rose above their station and showed themselves to be true heroes to Gaia, but a lot of those end in death, though he had at least the good graces not to get that far in all of the tales.
Yeah, I understand that. I know from Grunge's perspective, Hardened-Judge was a lot more harsh than he would have been with other Garu. But it seems, from the stories that I have heard so far, he's harsh with a firm hand, but fair. And it seems the defense of the green was a difficult situation.
Yeah, it was. And do I think he has a blind spot? Yeah. Look, they're violations of the litany, but they think and breathe like we do. Whether or not they're more spiritually susceptible to corruption or not, man, I don't know. I've hung around bone gnawers long enough to see that even the lowest of the low can overcome and not fall to the worm, so I'm not so sure about that rhetoric about mules.
Yeah, neither am I. I mean, I've known and fought alongside some great Krynos-born. I guess, unless there's any other stories you'd like to tell me, I think that's all the questions I had.
Okay, yeah. I think that's really all that I got that might be pertinent to you. and I got to start getting ready for some of the rites. The revel's gonna be happening soon, so.
All right. Yeah, I won't take any more of your time. Do you need help with anything in the moot?
Now you're a guest. Enjoy yourself.
All right, I will.
And so the songs build up, and then the Garu go off in all directions, finding threats of the worm to the Karen. And the day finally ends, Dimitri, and I assume you take the moon bridge back to Five Mirrors, and then back to Sacred Stone, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's 2
maybe
talents. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I was gonna say, maybe as a bit of a side note, Dimitri will spend some time with Runs with Many Packs, tell him a few stories of his adventures.
Okay, you spend
And
a
then
couple
he'll
days
head
doing
back.
that. All right, so you spend a couple days telling some adventures. You have fun, and then you hot potato back to the Sacred Stone. About a month passes, and you now have composed your epic. No.
Yes.
Okay. So, but 3 days before, Kyle, you're getting ready to get on the moon bridge and head to the Unified Heart. And Mark, are you doing the same? I know you were invited.
Mark will come.
And will Cora be going?
Did you say that Dimitri got back before we left for the Unified Heart?
He will be back before you go to the Unified Heart, yes.
Okay. Depending on how long it is between Unified Heart and him getting back,
It's about
Cora
a month.
would like. Okay, so Cora, during that month, Cora wants to go see Agatha, at least one last time.
Okay.
Spend some time, help her out, and then she'll head to the Unified Heart.
Okay. As you do approach the Unified Heart and the gatekeeper greets you. William, are you going? You were invited, or Kyle was allowed to invite whoever he wanted to bring. So he extended the invite to you.
Yeah, I'll go.
All right. As you all go to the Unified Heart, and the gatekeeper greets you as several are coming in through the moon bridges. As you are then approached by Sandra Speaks from the Beyond. She is an Athro of the Children of Gaia and a Thurge. Kyle, welcome. It's good to see you, and you, Mark, as well. You'll be able to finally take part in one of our sacred rites, and you've brought so many outsiders to join. This is wonderful.
It's an honor to be here, Rhea. I appreciate the invitation as well. It's a great honor.
Yes, I'm glad that we can finally be part of, well, I suppose the Children of Gaia.
Yes, and so we will have, there is a stream over there. If you wish to clean yourself through the natural streams, it's quite clear, and then those are the paths there, as she points out, that have very few rocks or jagged edges, and we keep very clean, and so you are able to walk barefoot there. We'll start the rite in a few hours, if you wish to prepare yourself. The rite lasts 3 days.
Wonderful, and forgive my ignorance. But specifically, I was told nothing about what the rite actually was.
Oh, of course. The rite is called the End Times Rite. It is a way for us to see how our actions are shaping the coming apocalypse, and how we will act within it, potentially.
It sounds incredible.
It is. It is a difficult rite. It will be 3 days of dancing, chanting, and meditation. All of you, as part of the rite, just so you know, you must whisper a deeply held fear to the wind on the first day. Then you must speak a deeply regretted failing to the earth on the second day. And finally, you must scream out one of your greatest hopes, which cannot be victorious in the apocalypse, to Gaia. Once this is done, if we succeed and we show the purity of our motives and are open with our hearts, Gaia will grant us these visions of the end times.
Well, thank you. We'll start preparing.
Perfect. As you go to the stream, as you see several Garu and kin just dropping trow, bathing.
Mark will follow suit.
Fair enough, yeah.
Kind of like go in between human and lupus. Get all the crevices, you know?
As they wash, and then some kin, some Garu, go just stride out to the right, the clearing of the right, just as Gaia made them, so to speak.
Mark will follow suit.
Yeah, well, that looks like what you're supposed to do.
Well, some are putting their clothes on, so that it's a strange hodgepodge. Some seem to feel more modest. Some are just like, yup, and just swinging low.
Well, it
Cora's
sounds
been
like we're
naked
supposed to meet.
Mark will swing low because Cora had her time.
Cora's been naked so much she doesn't give two shits anymore.
Tits out
like-
for Gaia.
Tits out for Gaia all the time.
Love it.
Because she's just like, I have been stripped so many times in front of God knows who. We're just gonna clothes don't matter.
And everyone else?
on, guys.
William will also remove his clothing, but he'll fold it up neatly into a pile, so that way it's not just a mess when he gets back.
That does bring up a point. Mark's kind of carrying his stuff with him, kind of clothes under arm and magpie swag over another shoulder.
All right, as you all approach, and there's some drums out for anyone to take, tambourines.
Are we just doing music right now, or is
This
this
is
dancing?
Some are starting to do the music to start dancing to, and you see the Rite Master starting to take hands, and it starts becoming almost a large dance, dancing barefoot on Gaia and moving through the grass, flinging arms up and basking in the sky, or basking in the sun.
Cora will express one of her few talents and dance.
The dancing bodybuilder.
Kyle will also express one of Cora's talents and dance.
Why not? Mark will dance too.
Well, you better. That's part of the ritual. Some are better than others.
Mm-hmm.
As you start going, some are whispering to the earth at different times, moving through, going through the steps. So, Kyle, what are you whispering to the earth?
I fear the mage will take our Sept and our families from us.
As you get up, you shed that fear into the wind as you pick up and you are brought back into the joy of the dancing, twirling as one kinfolk grabs you and twirls you aloft. And another one, big man, grabs you, hoists you, and places you down as you go, and you all start dancing together. Mark, what do you whisper to the wind?
Mark will whisper kind of a related concern, but more specific. He'll whisper that the uplifting of spirits of Jonathan Nightbiter is the results of the good doctor.
As you whisper, and in that moment, a kinfolk woman grabs you, twirls you, holds you close, as if in a comforting hug in the middle of the dance, before she twirls you as you are taken by one of the Garu, who turns into her Krynos form so she can lift you up one-handed aloft and twirls you in the sky before placing you down as she shifts back into Hamid form. Cora, what do you whisper to the wind?
That she is scared of what others think of her, and that thought is that she's not good enough.
And with that, you get a peck on the cheek from a kinfolk woman and a kinfolk man as they both grab you, duck you, and throw you in the air, giving you a flip, and they catch you together.
Holy shit.
And William, what do you whisper to the wind?
I fear that no matter what we do for the kinfolk, it is not enough.
And one of the Garu comes as he's in Glabro, and he lifts you up, flings you, and then as you are mid-air, one of the Garu shifts into Hispo, and you land on her back as she brings you down to the ground and lets you off before turning back into Hamid form, and two kinfolk grab you and take you into the dance. As you all keep dancing, I need a straight stamina roll, diff 6 please, of 1 day of dancing. No eating, no nothing, just dancing for 24 hours.
Clarification, I guess, on the stamina roll, because I guess we're all shifting in and out of different forms. What?
You'll be Hamid.
Okay, cool.
Hamid. As the dancing continues, and it finally starts to slow down as the drums start going rhythmically. And it is here that, that Speaks from the Beyond begins to lead you all in chants to Gaia. You have to deeply meditate and breathe as the scorching sun starts striking your body. As you sit and you feel the sunburn starting to form, and you must now speak to the earth. Excuse me. You must now speak your deeply held regret. Kyle, what do you regret?
I failed to understand B, and her fall is my greatest regret.
As you speak it, and you see some ears perk up as they look to you in their chants and nod, and so a few more know. And you feel a kinship with them as one of them also speaks their regret, and how they let a child slip away because they tried to hold them to unrealistic standards. And now their child is gone, living somewhere where they cannot reach. Cora?
Hers is 2 parts, I suppose. She speaks that she regrets one of her biggest failures was not being able to protect Eleanor and allowing her parents' lives fall into disrepair because of how she handled her change.
Mark, what is your regret? As some of the kin nod and look at Cora, some of the Garu also nod and look at Cora as she speaks it out.
Mark will regret plunging the nation into chaos with just a simple act of a little white lie that almost destroyed the entirety of it through stopping a silent strider performing his duty and just delivering a message.
Some look and nod. And then, finally, William, what do you speak to the earth?
I regret not sparing more lives during the purge of the cyberdogs. Some could have changed, and now we won't even know.
As you sit, you chant, and you continue to chant for a day as your throats start to get raw from the continuous chanting. And so as the 24 hours end, you all now sit in quiet contemplation. You meditate and look inwards. But first, I do need a stamina roll from everyone, as you once again have not eaten, drank, and have sat in the hot sun for 24 hours and still have not slept.
Would there be an increase in difficulty?
It will be diff 7.
Man, Mark's loving this.
All right, Kyle, Cora, you will both take a point of bashing damage that you cannot regen until you get some sleep, and you will have to spend a point of willpower or fall asleep and cease participating in the rite.
I'll spend the willpower.
Samesies.
As you force your eyes open, as they're fully bloodshot, and hell is closing your eyes to meditate while willing yourself not to fall asleep after 2 days of staying awake with dancing and chanting. As you continue and you hear kind of like the energy build over the day, as you continue to meditate, you continue to look inward. As you seek within yourself your hope and what you dare hope will be a revelation. Though there's not a single sound except for the natural sounds of Gaia and the breathing of the Garu and kin around you, it sounds like a building rush of power. Continuing to build and continuing to build until finally the last 24 hours rolls around and you must all shout. Now, your greatest hope. We'll start with Kyle.
I hope we can join again with the Farah and make up for our past mistakes.
Mark, what do you shout?
I shout that all creatures of Gaia. I hope that all creatures of Gaia unite to combat the worm. Humans, Farah, and all things in between.
William, what do you shout?
I hope that all Cub Garu live a long and healthy life.
And Cora?
She'll shout that she hopes that they made the right decision with Meatball.
All of your eyes go completely white, and you are thrown back, arms in a shock. Everyone around you feels the same way as blasts of heat strike your face, and you're surrounded by flames and various things as you find yourself in the Umbra, and it looks like there's a hurricane ripping through it as you see great moon bridges shattering in all directions as the shards go flying and slicing various spirits. Then you see Colorado Springs engulfed in flames, and a great spirit of fire, water, and smoke crafted of an endless wheel of time drawn by one of you into a spear, and the spear is thrown and it strikes through the legions of the worm unceasing as it launches into space, killing vast armies. You see young Bite the hand that feeds, grown and deeply changed. He looks at you with kindness in his hand, perfectly balanced scales, as he reaches out and you notice the shattering of webs. You see young Bites the hand that feeds again. The child is angry, eyes full of emerald fire, and it gives a scream. Malcolm looks down and shakes his head. A coin strikes the earth and it spins. The final result is left unseen. The choice must be made soon, and you come out of it.
Are there like other Garu beginning to discuss like
Yes.
if they had the same vision?
Some do, some don't. Some prefer to keep it to themselves. Others feel shocked and shaken. One goes, I saw it, a great weaver thing over the city. Horrible. Another, I saw spirits of various elements twisting with time itself. Ever endless. I've never seen one like that before. I don't know what the spirit is. One of the elders looks down and says, I saw a young woman come to me. She was afraid in many ways, and she looked me in the eyes and simply asked, the apocalypse is here. Tell me, what do you wish to be remembered for the future?
Mark will speak out to the group. I saw the child slay many of the Weaver. The Weaver shattered.
As some start to talk, and then they just kind of fall over drowsing and they just pass out.
Cora's history of figuring out what visions mean is abysmal, so...
Agreed. That's Zeb business. So Kyle will fall asleep instead.
As you fall asleep, it's still 2 days before the moot at Sacred Stone, so you have a bit of time as the children of Gaia basically go, hey, we're gonna have a kinfolk orgy. You guys wanna come? Double entendre.
Ha!
I guess I'm not busy.
Yeah. When in Child of Gaia, Sept, do as the children of Gaia do.
It's already naked.
All right, fade to black. It was great.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, as you all get on the moon bridge and you head back with clothes, the mood starts getting ready as you see Zeb and Dimitri kind of talking to each other, just catching up as they haven't really seen anyone since they've been doing their own thing. And it's about the first time you've all been back together in about 2 months, given all the training you're still doing.
Hey guys, it's been a minute since I've seen you. Dimitri, how's your challenge?
It was challenging in all of the right ways.
Well, if it wasn't challenging, then it's not much of a challenge.
That's very true. I think I have everything all together that I need.
Good. Can't wait to hear it at the moot.
I'm looking forward to sharing it. How was your trip with Kyle?
Enlightening. We all had a good time, but we partook in a rite. I forget what the rite was specifically called, but it gave us a vision of the future.
I believe it was called Rite of the End Times.
Right. It was the rite of the end times, and I don't know what they saw, but I saw Little Meatball standing grown up, destroying the Weaver, but also filled with emerald fire and a coin flip that did not land on any side. It spun on the earth.
So we shared the same vision. I just interpreted that as his fate is in the balance. You know, one side of the coin has yet to be chosen. It's still spinning.
That's my initial thought as well.
Yeah. Kyle will, knowing now that we had the same or similar visions, give a play-by-play of everything that happened to Zeb, and then stare at him expectantly.
So
Thank
as
you
you
for
all
doing
kind of
that.
tell your visions, there's slight variations, of course, like some parts with Kyle grabbing Steven and lifting him out of rubble. One with Cora, who's helping the kin as she's in full Krynos form with rubble holding up the whole building and saving several lives. One with William with a gun shooting down from his now wrecked apartment buildings into the streets. One of Mark just through tears as a Krynos claw strikes him in the face.
Well, it's clear enough the thread that unifies you all is the fate of Bite the Hands That Feeds being undecided. As for what else you saw, clearly enough it's going to be battles you face. And I think one of the things that might worry me most is that we're not together. And so consider what things might draw us apart in the end for the interests that we have. And maybe ensure that when you do face these things, you aren't wholly alone. But I think it also speaks to some of the things we're already worried about, protecting our kin especially, and trying to make sure that we're holding the line on many fronts, just like the guru here talked about in the last mood, that to the directions facing Colorado Springs, this place is secure, but in other directions for too long we've taken it for granted that our enemies would not strike at us. And I think soon they all will.
The moot continues on, and then, right before the cracking of the bone, the call comes out. We now have Dimitri Howls-In-Memory, who will speak. We have also invited Terrance Hardened-Judge and his pack to listen to Dimitri's story.
Dimitri will step forward, and he's going to start things off with focusing on Hardened-Judge's dedication to the litany and determination to right wrongs fairly, emphasizing how a kinfolk endangered the Sept, but rather than hold him to the same standards as a Garu, knowing full well that the kinfolk are not on the same level as Garu, Hardened-Judge made sure that instead of being put to death, he was beaten to learn his lesson, and then stood at the same kinfolk's bedside and nursed him back to health. How he encourages the fellow Garu of his tribe to discover who they are. The Fianna are not just of the Irish Isles, that is only one piece of many, but they have origins across Europe under the name of the Sky Singers and several others. Dimitri will speak of Hardened-Judge's sacrifices to protect his Sept and also to protect his allies, mentioning the steps he takes to protect the Sept of the Hidden Glade, sacrifices of not just of his body and flesh, but sending other Garu in defense of the Sept of the Green. The willingness not just to sacrifice himself, but sending others keep the Greens strong, because otherwise the Hidden Glade would suffer weakness from standing alone against the worm. And then Dimitri will add, but singing only praise is empty and hollow. Honor demands that I speak of those that Hardened-Judge has treated with harshness and cruelty, and he should understand honor very well as a Philodox himself, that I cannot pick and choose what I have heard. He is firm but fair to all but the Warborn. In the defense of the Green, he leveraged to put Krynos-born Cleoth on the front lines to be killed before the Fianna bloodied their claws on weakened enemies. He made the call on behalf of the Fianna in that battle to refuse healing grievous wounds on the Krynos-born that survived. While some may consider these battle scars glorious, these impaired Crinosporn are stopped from fighting at their full strength in future battles, so that they're more likely to die when they could have otherwise survived. And I wish to remind all of you that it's not just the songs and stories that Galliards sing and tell that carry the memory of your deeds onward to the next and future generations, but also how you treat those below your station and how they remember you, for all are of Gaia.
Dimitri, roll based on how you formatted the story. I'm gonna say roll charisma performance diff 9. You will need 2 successes. No willpower.
Okay, I was just about to ask that. Okay. 3 successes.
And so you bring it around at the end, and you mention that though the flaws you sing of are failings, they are failings that must be known so that we can improve, and that based on all the other things Hardened-Judge has done, including just moving past the tenets of Litany, but truly understanding the stories behind them, when it was proven that he did not know enough, that he will know enough now because he can change and he can be better, because everything in his story has shown that he can be better. And he acknowledges, and he comes up and he shakes your hand, and he gives a howl to the glory of the ill omens and hopes that they will move forward as well. And Dimitri, Silver Scribe, comes up and howls, "Listen now, Dimitri heals the rift, Athro of the Bone Gnars." And with that, the rest of you kind of do your duties. I know Kyle, Cora, and Zeb, you had a little extra time, yes, to try and pick up talents?
I had plenty of time as well.
Okay, then I think it was Mark that took us all the way to the ending in terms of training times. Yeah. So
Right.
No, none for Mark is.
Nope. I'm still training.
Yep. So Kyle, I'll have you do Charisma Law, Diff 6. Every success will equal 1 talent. Cora, I will have you do Charisma Brawl or Perception Brawl for Sept duties, and Diff 6. So 1 talent for Kyle. Not a lot of trials happened.
I do something really wrong.
Oh geez, no, you didn't botch. You're good.
I didn't botch. Okay.
No,
Nice.
no real danger came to the Sept. So, and Corey, you kind of used the talents that you had that they gave you for your duties
To go see Agatha or something.
Yeah, to go see Agatha, or so you net nothing.
Sweet.
All right, Kyle, you are gifted a Cheropian Spy. It is carved in the form of a porcelain dove, and it has a Gnosis 6 to activate it. When you channel your essence into it, the little porcelain dove will come alive and act as a spy or diversion for up to 12 hours. Once the task is complete, it shatters into dust.
Am I rolling for talents as well?
Yes, roll for talents. That you'll have the same roll as Cora. Perception
Okay.
Brawl.
What do you want Zeb to roll?
Zeb will do Stamina Athletics. All right, William, you get 4 talents, and Zeb, you get 3. Both of you get a Bane Arrow, and Zeb, you get 2 Death Dusts for yours. William, you also get a Cheropian Spy, though it's a small metal insect instead. You gain a Gaia's Breath and a Worm Scale. And so we skip ahead as the Umbra becomes windier during this time, and rumors start to parse in about how some Garu are even blown off moon bridges, never to be heard from again. It is rare, though, and some think that they are just that, rumors. Where will the packs go from here? What will they do? We will find out next time. Thank you to everyone who listened. We'll catch you in that next episode. Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.